The new Guild Wars 2 SotO Retrospective is right here, and they also brought a new teaser. So we not only have new information of the expansion, essentially Wing 8 confirmed, for me at least, new weapons, which are going to be the aquatic ones, at least the spear. We also have some good ideas on how they plan to fix the problems that SotO had, like story, map design, and content. So let's see what this is. Subscribe to the channel for more content of this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support me, and let's get into it. First, let's check the little trailer, because it has a lot of information that we can unpack from here. I like it how he's a little fish at the start. You can see a character swimming with a spear. And then they still have it. And you can see a few structures there. Of a, you know, who knows what that could be. But I think I know what that is. Because if you go to Guild Wars 2, into Echo Wilds, into Mora Village, which is indeed a village of Tengu, you can see the same patterns in the actual buildings that you would see here. The same type of shapes, the same geometrical shapes, the same kind of banners. So I'm guessing we're gonna get Tengu, right? Well, at least it's gonna be a Tengu focused expansion. Now, are we gonna be able to play them? That is, I don't know. That is gonna be an interesting question. We could have it like Allied Races in WoW, where essentially you do a collection, a quest line with the Tengu, and then eventually you unlock them to be used. And maybe in this case, you just get max level because you probably wouldn't have a, you wouldn't be able to do the story journal like you do in the other races, as it wouldn't make any sense. You probably might have like a 1 to level experience, 10 to level experience, maybe, you know, new player experience that like what WoW has with the isle that explains everything about the game, and then boom, you become level 80 and you can just blast with your class. Something that's, I don't know. We'll have to see. But it could happen. We'll have to see what it is about, right? We're definitely going to go. I should actually launch the game again. I don't know why I closed it. We're definitely gonna go to the wild bogs, you know, the Janthir Islands. We already talked about that in another video. I'll leave it in the description down below as well. But it's essentially confirmed. This looks essentially like the Delta bog that we were talking about. That is north of what's the word? Of Divinity's Reach. So I'm guessing we're gonna go there as well. I'm just gonna log in just so I can show you. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about this. There's a lot of implications, and we're gonna read the retrospective very soon now, so we can actually, you know, talk about everything that it comes. But I'm guessing that this is gonna be the first map. This is probably gonna be the second map here, I'm guessing, and the third map here, because it's like the scary map where whoever, you know, the bad guys are gonna be at. But let's talk about the retrospective and what they want to do with the story, with everything about the game, and we can maybe get some conclusions on what the expansion is gonna have. First, they talk about here how they how, you know, there's a reason why they wanted to move away from bigger expansions like POF and EOD to get this type of expansion that's once a year, because they wanted to deliver content updates in more consistent and timely manner, provide better supports for the systems and game modes that make Guild Wars 2 experience, and enable Arenanet employees to enjoy a better work-life cycle. And, I mean, balance. And I think they have done this correctly. I think we have gotten better updates in like the vs Vault, in PvP, in War vs World, in raids, in everything, like in Bold and all this other stuff. We have gotten new better balance as well. I know regardless of the problems we have with balance, with Condivert, overall the game is pretty okay in terms of balance. But they also talk about there's a lot of room for improvement, but in terms of content we deliver and the processes through which we deliver it. For today, I'm going to focus on what we have learned on the content side of things. They talk about story. They talk about we aim to focus on a deeper narrative grounded in the characters and circumstances around the player's characters. However, with SotO, our ambition led us to take a broader scope that was feasible. We introduced a lot of new characters, and the plot was too complex for what we can reasonably handle within an annual expansion. This left some characters' interactions feeling rushed and story threads unexplored. More isn't always better, and I completely agree, and I think everyone on Reddit and in the community would agree too. Most people definitely did complain about this expansion having cool threads, cool characters that never were explored, and they felt like completely just lost. And that is very, very sad, as there's no reason, to not be able to actually develop them. And everyone in the expansion just felt like they could have experienced something good, and they didn't in the end. Like, a lot of the problems there's a lot of problems in story in SotO. Not only characters that die too fast, which we didn't have any idea about them, but also the conclusion of it is not the best as well. It just feels rushed, and they're, hopefully in this case, gonna fix this. I think they kind of hit the nail on the head here. They're talking about, like, we just tried to do too much. Like, if this expansion would have been in 2 expansions instead, you probably would have been fine. Or if they would have cut it in half and just tell the wizard story, it would have been fine. So hopefully this time they learn their lessons and they can actually get some cool story. Because honestly, the ideas of SotO are pretty good. They just needed more time to actually develop them, right? Alright, next. They talk about how we learn a lot from this experience and have a greater understanding of the story scale within our newer release structure. For next expansion, we're going to tell a more grounded story set in new region of Tyria, which I think is obviously Janthir, right? With more focus on local threats and the global conversation around these threats. Tyria, despite all its challenges, has continued to stir, while we leave Neos and Cryptids to enjoy their newfound freedom. The story will pick up on some threats, starting with the Secrecy Obscure, continuing with the Astral World arc, their moral ambiguity, and their relation to Tyria. And it does seem like it has gonna have some connections with the Wizards. So if you don't like the Wizards, this might be something that is a bit disappointing. But I think of all the characters that we're probably gonna see, it's definitely gonna be Livia. We already have, and you can watch the video as well, I'll leave it in the description, about how Livia is being summoned by Contestant to Divinity's Reach. We're probably gonna have a little bit with her. She's always been close to the Morsad anyways, so it makes a lot of sense to put her in the expansion. I think we can maybe see Waiting Sorrows, a Coda that escaped the Wizard's Tower a few years back, and we might actually see her, close doing something here, as she's also a wizard, and we also might actually have some connections with Isgaren, as Isgaren is a Zir that is kind of the antithesis of the Morsad, and he might be interested in knowing what's happening right here. We also have the Janthir's Eye being in SotO as well, that who knows who's controlling, maybe even Isgaren, who knows, maybe that's how he knew that what we were doing. We really do not know. It is also important that I think the Wizard Tower is gonna move. Wizard Tower, we already have information about it being in Janthir's Bay beforehand, or in the Isles of Janthir. It could just come back and you can use it as a hub again, and that way we have a bit of connection with the characters from the Wizard Tower, and of course whatever is gonna happen in Janthir. I think that's a very big possibility that will happen, just like Dalaran happens in WoW and moves around depending on the expansion. Which honestly I don't think is a bad thing. I like the Wizard's Vault. I think it's a good hub, and I'm completely happy as long as they make it a bit faster flowed to have it in the expansion. They also talk about map design. They talked about how we have like 3 maps. 2 maps on the start of the launch, and 1 map that was divided into 3 parts. But they talk about for our next expansion, our first 2 maps will be released at the expansion launch, just as they did in SotO. However, the final map will arrive in a second quarterly update and be expanded upon a third, meaning it will be expanded in 2 total releases, like Viora Marches and Drizzle Coast. So not 3. And that's what happened in this expansion. We got one in, I think it was like November, then another one like February, and then, or like January, I guess, and then another right now, right, like in May, right? So this time is gonna be January or February, and then May, right? No more. And I think that kind of sounds a bit bad, right? That sounds a bit that's like too little content. But they come here to say that, well, the first quarterly release after the expansion launch won't include the 3rd open world map for the expansion, as they did with SotO. There will be plenty of new content to keep busy in the time frame in terms of story, open world content, and encounters. So hopefully we get a good amount of things to do in the first 2 maps as well, and I hope so, because 3 maps is already less than we usually would get in any expansion, and having it divided in this way kind of sounds a bit bad. So I really hope they can pull it off. I do think it's more important though to make the actual map releases actually good and exciting, even if you have to wait more, as most of the releases on this expansion on SotO were not very they were not very exciting. People did not have a lot of fun with them. They thought it was too little, and sometimes cutting something into less parts so you can actually make it more meaningful, might be better. Now, to be fair, and here they said, I know this is a little big, and again, check back in next week. So next week we're gonna have essentially all the information from this expansion. But rest assured, the first quarterly release will include something really exciting that players have been requesting for over 5 years. And you know what happened 5 years ago, guys? The last raid. I'm sorry, guys, but this is what it is. I know some people are saying like it's just speculation. I disagree. This is the new raid. The raid is coming, right? It's 100% coming, and it's gonna happen in the first release of the expansion. Okay, oh, not on launch, the first quarterly release, I guess. We already have the interview with Grouch where he talks about he's very excited about the next instance content release schedule, and it just fits, right? 5 years ago, this is the last time we got a raid. People have been asking that for a long time, and I'm guessing also we're gonna get some changes in raids. I think the only way that they can pull this off, as raids are usually kind of unpopular, is if they make a story mode for the raids. Now, this essentially would be a very easy mode where you can just do the raid, right? For story purposes, and then you can move to the normal mode and whatever, right? And this story mode might be able to be soloed or with other people, and who knows, maybe you also get some, you know, like in WoW, we get like AI companions to play with, and like we had in Guild Wars 1 as well. We might actually get something like that, who knows? But I think it's definitely gonna happen, and it's also gonna retroactively work with the other raids as well. You know, I think this was gonna happen. We're gonna get some easy mode, and every raid is gonna get that as well, so you guys can experience the old raids as well, and people can actually be invested in them and want to try them out. I also think they should fix the LFG and make some better tools for people to make raids in the first place, like give little icons that represent which person is quickness and which one is alacrity, and you can actually queue in for that in the specific squad, and also hopefully you can't just join, you actually need to be accepted from the LFG as well. I think those things would definitely be nice, and if they want raids to be successful and they want to bring them back, they need to do all these things. Otherwise, we might have another situation where when raids don't work out. So I really hope that's the case. Now, does this mean that strikes are gone? I personally don't think so. I think we're gonna get strikes regardless. I think we're gonna have probably 1 raid a year and 2 strikes as well. It might end up going something like every other year we get a raid, and not every year. I really hope it will be 1 a year, specifically if they put it on the story, you know, as part of a story raid, so people have more story content to do. But we'll have to see. I really hope so, because I think it would be a great idea. Let's continue though. They talk about this. Yes. Okay. They also talk about features and how they want the features that they do release to be polished and well done, and they don't want to, because back in the day they would just release features over and over again and never iterate on them, just let them there to die. And I hope, and they're saying that they're not gonna do that, and that's, you know, what they really want to focus on. I think they say the Wizards Vault is a good example for this strategy working out well for us. And you can expect to see new systems being introduced in Expansion 5 that adds a meaningful new way to spend your Guild Wars time, while using this as an opportunity to greatly improve the player experience with related existing game systems. So who knows what it's gonna be. I really do hope that, for example, the Rift system doesn't get abandoned, but iterated on in the next expansion with newer, not actually equipped as Rifts, but like, you know, we actually have like the same idea, but hey, this time it's other enemies, and you get other things for other wards and stuff. That's like, you should not, maybe bounties again, but like a Rift bounty combination. I don't know what it is, but like, I don't know what it could be, but yeah. And then of course they talk about the teaser here, and how in next week's Tuesday we're gonna get essentially all the information from the new expansion, which I also predicted, so I'm happy because I was right about everything I said. Now, we talked about that. I am interested to see. I really wish they would have talked about other things that they kind of fucked up in Secrecy Obscure, like health sponges, like every boss being insanely spongy and taking for so long. I think they should have mentioned that here. I think maybe that's what they mean when they talk about actually, you know, taking more time on map design and encounters and everything, as well. But I really, you know, I think it would have been nice if they literally just said it, right? I I think the same goes for like the green bar criticism about like every story step has a a green bar and you have to like complete it by doing events. I don't personally think it's even that bad. I think it's okay to make your players play the game and actually make them engage with the content that you just gave them to them, like adventures, like within this patch. But I think it definitely needs to be spread around so you can actually play the story as well, right? Not be the same thing, instantly the thing, right? And especially when you don't have that many story steps in the first place. And I didn't see also reuse assets being a part of this retrospective. They're not talking about that specific criticism about every this expansion being full with reuse assets, but I doubt that it will. Again, we already have a bit of you can clearly see some new assets right here, some new architecture, and I think that's very, very important, and we're gonna have to see next week what happens and what we get. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting consequences to this post. What I'm gonna predict is just that we're gonna get the raid. I think we're gonna get some LFG improvements. I think we're gonna get the new legendary that is probably gonna be Aqua Breather and Aqua weapons. I think the Wizard's Tower is gonna move, and we're gonna go to Janthir that way. And I think with the characters that we're gonna see is gonna be Garen, as he's very mysterious. We don't know that much about him. I think it's gonna be Livia as well, and maybe Wedding Sorrows. That one is a bit of a stretch, but I think it could happen as that character has been in the SotO books for a long time. So we'll definitely see what happens, and tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys are excited. Tell me if you guys think it's not gonna be that interesting. Whatever. If you're I mean, you don't have to pre-order the game, but we'll be talking about all the conclusions and all the consequences of this post and what it could be in our stream. So definitely go to my twitch.tv/JanthirWilds to watch it. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content, and go to my Discord if you want to hang out off stream. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Love you all. Tell me what you guys think. Bye bye.